Thank you, Alok. As you can see, we have the most powerhouse of women sitting here. They've come from across the world and bring with them a lot of wisdom and a lot of experience. The topic is the critical role of women in sustainable development. I was thinking in the morning how we will do it. One, I was 100% sure we'll be short of time. So first I had written to them that we will have 5 minutes each, but now it will become 3 minutes each. And after that, once all the presentations and statements and sharings are over, then we shall invite any questions or any reflections or responses you will have. And I've told them that when I start speaking about, they must also keep my 3 minutes to be very strict 3 minutes. Is that acceptable?
Yes.
Yeah? And then the audience must also listen and prepare their statements or responses and get half a minute. Otherwise, we will not have many responses from the participants if we get short with time. And I have told Alok we will try to reduce the overall time so we can catch up with the time. Basically, the role of women is emerging quite significantly as many organizations and industries are making sure that their organization has diversity. And diversity in the time being has meant to include women. Women have entered the workforce about, in the 80s, 70s it started increasing. Earlier they were all into teaching profession or nursing profession or doctors or mostly in the teaching profession. But in the organizations, they have come from the 70s in terms of formal work organizations. And my research shows that over the last 50, 60 years, women have taken about 4 major steps of growth for themselves in participating in the mainstream activities. First, the focus was only on the job. As time moved on around the 80s and the 90s, they became more career-oriented as more professional education started to be more available to them. From the career women, they became highly professional, and from the professional, many of them have started to create new enterprises and gone into many new fields. So having said this, in the sustainable development, the first of the movement which started by women was to preservation of trees. That was the Chipko movement where they all embraced the trees and stood there to not let it get chopped off. Women are the first people who generally look after the kids when they are born. So I think the sustainable development starts right from the birth of the children of how they really grow up. If I start looking back at what I experienced in my childhood, I remember we used to we were 17 kids in a joint family, and we were all sitting down on a Sunday afternoon making brown paper bags for the doctors who would then distribute medicine in that. And we said, the children used to ask, why do not we buy new papers? And we were told new papers are for writing, old papers are to reuse. And this reused medicine pouches, which were again used in Calcutta into the Jhalmudi-wala. If anybody is from Calcutta or Bengal, Jhalmudi is one of the most, what is called the earliest fast food or junk food available. And after I grew up and I used to return to Calcutta, the first thing I would do is in the airport search for a Jhalmudi vada. And then the same paper bags, this small, used to be available in the Jhalmudi. So there are many ways of sustainable development which the women can participate. So I will leave it to the women to address some of the issues. And Do we start by the way it is listed? The person to start is you. All right.
Hello, everyone. My name is Eiling. I'm from Singapore. It's a great honor for me to be here. It's 3 minutes, so I shall begin. I think this morning we spoke a lot about, or indirectly or directly, about the sustainable development of women. And I think for me especially, I always thought that sustainable development of women is not just about women. It is really about the entire progress of mankind, including the men. I think it will be a little bit limited if we think about the development of women just with policies around women, because in the end, the women had to function around the family, around the workplaces, and so on. And I think no country can really progress if it ignores the potential of women, because after all, in all countries, in most countries, women will be at least half the population of the entire country. So I think to dedicate efforts, to dedicate strong intention around women's development is indeed very, very critical. In Singapore, through very accessible and very, very high quality mass education, especially since 2003 when compulsory education of 10 years was introduced, I would dare to say equality for women in Singapore is generally positive. It is positive from first, high and improving employment rate. Today for women aged between 24 to about 65, we have above 70% of employment rate. And if you look at the mean wage rate growth, it is also positive in the past decade especially. However, it is not a beautiful picture entirely because there is still a wage gap between the ladies and the gentlemen. And in Singapore, today it is about 10%. 10% between women and men in terms of their median wage rate. But of course today, I think just like in many countries, amongst colleagues seated here as well, many of our workplaces today are seeing more flexible work arrangements, possibilities for ladies. I come from a very large company. I run childcare centers, about 140 of them around the Singapore island. I serve about 20,000 children every day. So I have about 4,000 staff with me. And these 4,000 staff are mainly females. And we do have a lot of flexi work arrangements for these ladies because we know they cannot be choosing between family and work. We want them to enjoy both family and work. So we offer flexi hours, we offer flexi workload, we offer flexi space or flexi place as well so that they can work remotely. And while things are improving, like I mentioned, we all know, maybe around the world it's the same. We still have underrepresentation of women generally in the C-suite kind of positions, in our CEO kind of positions, in many of the boardrooms, and potentially also in political offices. In Singapore, where we are seeing many more female politicians, we are still, majority are still the gentlemen politicians. I am an educator by training. I have served many years in the Ministry of Education, both as a principal as well as a superintendent of schools. Today, I run childcare centers, but I agree with our gentleman earlier from Kidzania talking about how do we get our children to write their narratives from the possibilities. And little girls with dreams, I believe, will grow up to be women with vision. How do we have more women with vision? So in the childcare service that I come from, I'm a strong believer in this. So I started introducing a lot of non-female-like kind of learning from young ages for children. For example, we introduced STEM for young children as young as 3 years old, including the girls. So we have our girls starting thinking about science education, starting their exposure to research, because it's true that for work around science, research, and work around STEM, basically, we have very few females participating in some of these work. And we started also introduce some other policies and some other practices like the Japanese-based Mima Moru practice, which is really to encourage both boys and girls to work together in the unit of a family and not just think that the ladies are solely responsible for child caring. So with that, I want to just conclude that if we are in education, our role is important. How we structure the curriculum, how we structure the program, from childcare all the way through Institute of Higher Institutions, will allow us to create many more women of the future with vision. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Neha.
Hi, I'm Neha Sharma. I come from Dubai, but I'm basically a Mumbaikar. I've been born and brought up here and did my basic graduation from Vivekanand. Luckily, I was born into a family where my father never differentiated between a girl and a boy. We were 4 sisters, but all of us got equal education opportunities as my brother. So I do feel that we all acknowledge that education is extremely important and the basic step to have women empowerment. Having said that, I saw a recent interview by Priyanka Chopra who mentioned Beti Padhao, Beti Bachao initiative, which is a few years old. And for my colleagues who don't understand Hindi, it means educate your daughters and save them. So basically, she said that a good idea would be for each state in India to individualize this initiative to see how it suits the state. For example, West Bengal, I believe, it gives incentives to parents who educate their girl child till the age of 18. Similarly, each state and each country could probably prioritize and have some kind of plan which will support girl education. The one statistics that I found from an OECD report, which is relatively, I would say, 10 years old, so maybe it has changed a lot, but it said that 70% of world poverty was because women were not educated and not employed. So once we speak about education and we know how important it is essential to ensure high quality and inclusive education. Being a mother of a child with learning disabilities myself, I'm very passionate about inclusion, and I would say that imagine the state of girls who have learning disabilities. I mean, culturally itself, I don't know how many parents are open about it and would work hard to see that these children are the underprivileged children, especially girls. All children, of course, with disabilities get equal access to education as anybody else. A report by the Dubai government said that around 20% of the world population, the economy suffered because children with disabilities did not get equal education opportunities. Being in Dubai from last 22 years, I have seen inclusion grow from strength to strength, especially over the last 6-7 years. And from my side, I would just leave 2 thoughts with you all. First, please educate every girl child and see that woman is employed. And second, please focus on children with disabilities. Thank you. I speak very fast.
Good afternoon. It is really my honor to be with Dr. Indira Parikh, as well as to be with all of you in this World Education Congress. When I received the topic, I tried to relate the local experience and relate that to all of you. The critical role of women in achieving the sustainable development. Since the creations of the world, women has played a very important role in shaping the civilization as well as the culture of people. And actually start from home, we see the important role that our mother play. And indeed, the Indian culture places great importance on the role of women, which I salute to the Indian mothers here. So the roles of mother may change from time to time, but the influence of women has always been significant. Over the years, women have received the educations. The financial requirement, the community call, has actually compelled women to leave the domestic and to step into the society, to the corporations, to enrich the society at large. I would like to share with you the local social club that was set up 10 years ago. This club is called as 10 Ringgit Club. Ringgit as in Malaysian currency, the ringgit's Malaysia. And this club is called as 10 Ringgit Club. So basically, this 10 Ringgit Club is to absorb the minority indigenous people called as Penan. Penan is basically the nomadic people living in the inner forests, particularly in the northern part of Sarawak. They lost their home ground in the inner forests and they are forced to migrate to the city. This is due to the rampant uncontrolled logging activities that actually have reaped their home ground. So coming to the city is indeed very difficult for them. They just find it too tough and not being able to survive in the city. So in order to make a living, fortunately, we have one company which is called as Eastwood Golf and Country Club, actually absorbed this Penang community, providing them with the lodging as well as the job just for the Penang men. Now, what about the Penang women as well as the children? And we saw they are basically left in that lodging house provided by the company and not doing anything. And the children of the Penang didn't go to the school. Therefore, this 10 ringgit club was set up in order to accommodate these Penang women as well as the children. So basically, the 10 ringgit club was set up about 10 years ago to teach these Penang women on how to weave the basket, give them the skill. And also, the 10 ringgit club helped them to sell the basket, their final product, so as to make them to be more financially independent. Similarly, this 10 ringgit club also run classes for the preschool age children, basically to teach them English and mathematics before they can go into the primary school. And once they reach the school age, the 10 ringgit club also ensure these children go to the primary school and all the way up to the secondary school. In the past, before they come to the city, the Penang children or the Penang people as a whole have never received the educations. So coming to the city, life was really, really tough for them. And we were glad that this particular company actually absorbed them, provide them with the lodging, provide them with a job. And also the 10 ringgit club also empower the women and also ensure the children receive the educations up to Form 5, which is equivalent to the O level. So who are the people behind this 10 ringgit club? None other than the women. We have the group of women coming together to set up this 10 ringgit club to empower the Penang women and to ensure the Penang children got the educations. This morning, we heard from Dr. Indira Parith that make sure we deliver the value in the educations. And we heard long time ago that education is actually very powerful for change. But today, I would like to add that educations deliver to the future generations must come with a value. Thank you.
Good afternoon to all, and thanks to Dr. Parikh, Dr. Bhatia, and the team for bringing us here at this forum to speak. And I think it's a very dynamic panel, and everybody's speaking on a very different topic. So since I've been in the higher education now for a number of years, and I've been listening since morning about the innovation in pedagogy, which is really required in higher education. For that matter, even in the primary and the secondary education. I participated in one of the education congresses in Dubai where also we were talking about a lot of innovation where school teachers, specifically school teachers, said that they do a lot of innovation in classrooms. Now, talking about higher education in which I am in the management education, we usually earlier used to do PowerPoint presentations and speak with students, giving lectures. And then when this bug of innovation came in, we started thinking a little in that direction. So looking at what Neha said, that if you have daughters, you should give them education. Fortunately, I have 2 daughters. And then when they did their secondary schools, what will they do in higher education was decided. And also, when girls grow up, as mothers, all of us would see, and as women, we all use beauty and healthcare products, right, to enhance ourselves or look good. Thinking in this direction, I worked with an organization in Spain, which works with a lot of corporates, bringing out innovative ideas with these schools. They gave us a project which we which we decided to launch and do in Dubai with the help of our students, where we saw that basically the Emirati women and even the expats, you know, most of them buy a lot of luxury products in terms of beauty and healthcare, right? But whenever we are buying those products, we're looking at the brand name or the variety or the advertisements or the kind of offers that we have. But none of us would ever go to an extent of seeing that was that product tested on an animal, was it used with organic products, you know, how friendly is it with the environment? And that gave us a lead, and we did a research in that market to find out, do women really bother about that? Each one of us, if we look at it and if we think about it, whenever I'm buying a cosmetic product, I may be just looking at the brand name and saying, wow, that's a good one, right? So the study went into the details in that market, and we could find out that there was a percentage of people who would really bother about that how the product would be on their skin, right? But nobody would be going into that extent of finding out whether it was really good for the environment, whether there was an animal testing, whether there was an eco-friendly kind of a packaging that was involved, or there was a recyclable and a reusable packaging. So I think taking from here the sustainable goal by the UN, that is goal number 13, which says about responsible consumption and production, women have a larger role to play here, because once women are consuming these products, if they start realizing the importance of these ethical attributes which are present in these products, it's going to help the society at large, and it's going to awaken the marketers, you know, before they actually do their marketing, advertising and branding, they would give us on the label how the product is actually environment friendly. So I think a whole lot of sustainable initiative lies on the shoulders of women, and women play a larger role in this section, taking this to the next level in the beauty and the healthcare industry. That's all from my side.
Thank you, Dr. Vimi. Dr. Halima.
Good afternoon, everybody. Myself, Dr. Halima, and I'm an Indian and a resident of Dubai, UAE. The topic for which 3 minutes are given, very close to our heart, and I don't think that we will be able to do justification, but anyway, whatever I'm going to speak, I'll speak from my heart, not from the knowledge or from any book. I was born in a very small village of Bihar that's called Darbhanga. Then journey from Darbhanga to Delhi, and from Delhi to Dubai. It's a very long journey and very fascinating journey, and sometimes you all will like to listen it, but not now, because time is very short. So I have experienced and I have seen the women in different spheres of life and in different conditions and situations. Although my profession is teaching, and since last 25 years I'm associated with this profession, and earlier I was teaching in Delhi in a very renowned school, and then I shifted to Dubai, and nowadays I am in a position of principal. And I am heading the school where 6,000 students are there, and most of the teachers are female, as nowadays it's happening in most of the institutions, educational institutions, dominated by the female. So when I was here in Delhi, I was associated with an NGO that we used to work for the educational empowerment of the women, especially the marginalized group, and we traveled across North Indian states like Bihar, UP, and then Jharkhand, West Bengal, Rajasthan, Punjab, Haryana, and we found that in all these places, the women's condition is very pathetic, because sitting here and or sitting in Dubai, or then looking at these women who are already empowered, we cannot even imagine the condition of those women who are into the villages, those who even don't know the basic, those who don't have the basic knowledge of their, how to lead their life, and what is the purpose of the existence of their life. And then with a group of 50 women, we started working for them, and then we started, first of all, enlightening them that what is their purpose of life. Like, women should not think that they are a subordinate creature of God, and they are here just to do the household chores, and they are just here to fulfill the needs of the family, husband, children, and the in-laws. And when they are unmarried, then in the father and the brothers and the sisters and all others. but they should have one goal, one mission. They should also feel that their existence has a meaning. And I must mention here that being associated to a community where the education has been highlighted so significantly in the books, but in practically not finding at the grassroots level was very painful for us. And for that reason, we started working with them. And then finally, we found that if we work with the women, that has less impact, but if we are going to work with the men, because here I found that the real cause is not women themselves, but the men are equally responsible. They should try to understand, and they should provide the equal opportunity, and not only equal opportunity, but we have to think of gender equity here, because the people who have left behind, to take them along with us, we have to put in extra efforts. It's not only providing them the equal opportunity. So they have to understand, and they have to provide the ample opportunities to the women. Finally, when I shifted to Dubai, there the entire world was different, and I found that the women are quite empowered, and they are in all the spheres of life doing quite well, from petrol pump to the highest level of education, directors, and all the fields. So it gives me like even more concern that how we are going to change the scenario in our own country, and especially in the marginalized group. How we are going to change their situation. You all know the report of the Sacher Committee, although that is a very old report, but still the situation has not drastically changed. So what I request is that each one of us have to feel, and each one of us to realize that this is our responsibility, that we can begin from the family, from the house. And the women empowerment begins from the house itself, from the family itself. Family plays a very important role. As I said that I belong to a very remote village of Bihar, and in my whole village, in my whole town, not a single girl is educated. And now 1 or 2 girls have done their matric. I'm talking about like 30, 35 years ago. But my father took the initiative. And I know that for that initiative, he was literally abused by the community people. And he was like alished with so many things. But he did not bother, and he sent us, me and my sister, to a hostel so that we can get the education, and then we can lead a successful life. And then after seeing us, 1 or 2 girls have also come up, but the entire village has not changed even today, because their mentality is that women are only to, at the age of 13 or 15 or 18, they should get married and they should take care of the family. So lots of things have to be done. And the second thing which I would like to mention is that in my school where I am right now, the women are very empowered and educated, but still, you know, the guilt feeling is still there among the women. Whenever in the family, if the child is not well, or if the child is having some problem, you will find that most of the time only the ladies will come for to take the leave. One day I talked to the teacher and I said that, you know, tomorrow is a very important day and you cannot take leave. So why don't you request your husband to take leave? Because both of you are working and both of you have equal responsibility towards your children. So she looked at my face that as if I have committed any crime by saying this, that how a man can take leave because of the children, because children is solely responsibility of the women. Even the women has like major role to play in their professional life, but they have to sacrifice there and they have to take leave and they have to be at home. But gradually I made her understand. I said, you go and you tell your husband. And very politely you said that, can you take leave today, because I have very important task in the school. The inspection has to be done over there, and inspection is nightmare in UAE. The people who are here, they know it very well. So when she went over there, she has spoken to the husband, and then initially he also reacted, but gradually he agreed and he took the leave. And then now gradually the people have started taking it as that this is the responsibility, common responsibility of men and women both, because we women always feel that if we are not taking the responsibility or if we are not giving much time to the family, we are doing something wrong. And the guilt feeling is here. If we are not making 25 parathas early morning and going to the office, so that guilt feeling still prevails. Even the women are very empowered and they are in the great positions, but still that feeling is there. So we have to change that stereotype, we have to change that guilt feeling, and we have to realize that equal responsibility lies with the men and with women, and both of them have to run the family as well as they have to play their crucial role in the development of the society, because if a woman can fly in the aeroplane and can enjoy the flight, so she should think that her responsibility is to contribute in the making of plane also. So how a woman can only enjoy the things, innovations and discoveries and all other things without realizing that she also has to contribute in invention, in the inventions, in the discoveries, in the developments happening in the society. So I think that with this mindset, if we are going to work, inshallah, the scenario will change and there will be great development in the society. Thank you very much.
No, Ayukta. Ayukta.
Hello. Can everyone hear me? Perfect. Hi, my name is Ayukta Thakur and I'm from Japan. I'm the co-founder of Dubai's first center for young adults with special needs. We have a holistic approach where we empower young adults with education, teaching them life skills development, and vocational training. One of the Goal 8 targets that was presented by the UN states, by 2030, achieve full and productive employment and decent work for all women and men, including for young people and persons with disabilities, and equal pay for work of equal value. So just to throw a few statistics out there, 15% of our current population includes people with disabilities. And out of that 15%, 2 to 4 of them are severe. That means out of that 15%, only 4% of that population may not be suitable to work. Yet the other remaining are excluded from work placement opportunities across the world. 80 to 90% of that current population, of that 15%, are unemployed, although they're working age. So 21 and above or 18 and above in some places. So what can be done to provide the right opportunities for them? Change attitudes. Respect and acceptance is something that's very important. Secondly, increase opportunities. At Integrate Center, the current center we're running right now, we've encountered numerous obstacles to find work placement opportunities for our young adults with disabilities. Although we cater to mild to moderate abilities, you could see that there's a stigma around people with disabilities. That mindset needs to be changed. Thirdly, we need to make everything accessible. Wherever you go, whether it's a restaurant, whether it's a hotel, whether it's boarding a flight, you need to make things accessible for people with disabilities. People with disabilities includes physical, intellectual, sensory, neurological, and learning disabilities. So we need to cater to all these needs. This is one step closer to sustainable development. Additionally, the importance of mental health. When you discriminate towards a population, 15%, you're not just discriminating against those individuals with additional needs, you're also discriminating against their families. So the numbers go up, and that's taking you further away from sustainable development. And that's where I'm going to be ending. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Without my glasses, I missed out the tallest lady in the room. Jayda, please. And then I come back.
Thank you. I'm Jayda Ruwashtif from Dubai Al Falah University. I'm really honored and privileged to be here today, and I will try my best to keep it to 3 minutes. I'll just stick to my notes. Well, we're here to discuss the role that women play in global development. I believe that we need to mobilize action in order for women to play that role and even for men to play that role. And without high political leadership and partnerships, we cannot do it. Unfortunately, the latest report issued by the UN, on the progress of the SDGs has shown that the progress is really slow. It's slower than needed to meet the targets by 2030. Now, what do we need to do? In order for women to play that role, I'm going to discuss 3 SDGs, or 3 targets. The first one is poverty. Well, today, more than 10% of the population lives under $2 per day. The young people are the most affected by poverty, which includes women. Also, I'd like to talk about education. Now, one of the shortcomings of the MDGs was focusing on providing primary education. Now, SDGs is trying to do better and to focus on the quality of education. Now, unfortunately, only 30% of countries spend 15 to 20% of their total governmental expenditure on education. That's really low. Another thing, 58% of primary or lower secondary school students are attending schools, but they're not learning much. 15% of teachers worldwide are not trained to teach. This is really alarming. Now, I also want to talk about gender inequality. 1 in 5 girls between the ages 15 and 19 have experienced physical or sexual violence. 21% of girls got married before they were 18. The gender gap, the gender pay gap actually, 89% of men get paid more than women. Also, less than 38% of senior and middle management positions are occupied by women. And women spend about 3 times as many hours in unpaid domestic work as men. We're talking about the recent report issued by the UN. We're talking about 2018. I think we still have a lot to do in order for us to achieve the targets by 2030. And I hope we reach there, we get there. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah.
No.
You're last but not the least.
No, definitely not. I'm very, very happy that I am the last person because I'm going slightly against your grain. While we are celebrating womanhood and while we are saying that, yes, women have contributed so much to the growth of society per se, families per se, and whatever is, they're all women sitting here. So obviously, some woman has brought us up here, probably our mothers and people around us. Having said that, and with due apologies to all the gentlemen present here, women are still treated as second-class citizens, and that's what I would like to talk about. Look at it from the voting point of view. There are many countries, some countries at least, don't want to name them here, but women have not got voting rights. Some countries, very recently so, have the women got voting rights. As well as Saudi Arabia, I think, the women have got driving rights now. In fact, there was a joke which said that there's chaos on the roads now because of the women driving, and they are following the rules. So that was a problem there. Anyway, so that's voting. As far as education goes, women are not, 72% of children in the world per se are not getting any education, out of which 54 are girls. So there is lack of education. There are different reasons, of course. Housework, the mother has to look after the family, distances to go to, therefore it's better that the girl stays at home. Then someone had mentioned gender equality. Gender equality is not really there. I mean, 73% of women have said that they do face a glass ceiling where they are working, of which 38% men have recognized that, yes, there is a glass ceiling. But there's quite a big majority which is not even aware that there are challenges that women face at the workplace. I don't want to be all negative, but this is one aspect I would like to draw your attention to. The second is, Dr. Halima mentioned, the well-being of the woman. The well-being of the woman would depend on, I would look at it, of course, the family, the society, the culture, but more say on emotional well-being. If we focus on the emotional well-being of women, then hopefully the society also benefits that way. I've looked at 3 points really: relationships, self-esteem, and understanding emotions. And again, all these points have 2 sides. One is what happens at home, and then how it is manifested or shown in our behavior. So if it's relationships, if at home we get unconditional love, we get acceptance, what happens is when we go out, we are more understanding of the situation. We develop critical thinking. Again, when it comes to self-esteem, if I feel good about myself, everything around me will be good. Therefore, again, at home, if critical thinking is taught, encouragement is given, we are ready to take challenges outside. So that's another aspect where well-being can be developed. And recognizing emotions. Today, when we look at mental health, there are a lot of women who are diagnosed with depression. That besides the point that it is the male doctor who's diagnosing it. But there is depression, there's anxiety, there is emotional issues going on. So the most important thing for the woman at the micro level is understand what is the emotion that I am feeling. I am angry. If I'm angry, for what? Have I been let down? Did I have expectations? Had they not been met? Is that why I'm angry? Whatever it is. But once we understand that, then an action plan can take place. Should I go for counseling? Should I go for anger management? Should I do something about my self-esteem? Do I need to step out of the house and work? Do I need to have a one-on-one talk with my family members? And when that sense of well-being is developed, hopefully the second-class business will reduce. The third point I'd like to mention, they're all unrelated, but at the same time related, I feel, is working towards our own happiness. Because if I am happy inside, I will generate joy, positivity, productivity outside. And women and men will develop. So I've come up with this acronym, really. It's called SMIRC-F. It's easy for me to remember that way. SMIRC stands for what are our strengths and what are our weaknesses. The minute I know my strengths, am I using them only for my gains, or am I doing something outside myself that should contribute to our happiness quotient? Then meaning. If I do not have any meaning in my life, it's pointless. There was the psychologist who said, Martin Seligman. Martin Seligman said that finding meaning in our lives helps us to be productive and positive. And that meaning can come from meditation, spirituality, religiosity, deep thinking, whatever that is. E is, of course, for exercise, as our mind and our bodies work together. R will stand for relationships. The more solid our relationships will be, the more positive our being will be. And the more positive our being is, the more we will contribute to the growth of the community, starting from the family, because that is the central first unit of society. And then K, kindness. The Dalai Lama has said, whenever possible, be kind. And in the second line he says, it is always possible. So kindness, allowance for the other person, understanding, again, gives us that mental peace to progress further. And last but not the least, flow. If we will not have intrinsic motivation, we will not be able to develop further. So second-class citizenship can easily be conquered with emotional well-being. Focusing on happiness is what I would like to say.